Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers Channel. Today, we will learn about the explosive developments heading our way on December 1st and throughout the week that promise to shake Port Charles to its very core. The upcoming episodes are packed with jaw-dropping revelations, emotional confrontations, and life-changing decisions that will leave viewers absolutely stunned. From wedding day disasters to dangerous power plays and shocking discoveries that threaten to tear families apart, this week's General Hospital delivers the kind of edge-of-your-seat drama that keeps fans coming back for more. Willow's wedding day cold feet. The most talked-about storyline centers around Willow Tate's rapidly approaching wedding to Drew Kane, and all signs point to serious trouble in paradise. When Drew enthusiastically announces that their big day has finally arrived, Willow's reaction is anything but enthusiastic. The preview clip reveals a woman who looks more like she's heading to a funeral than her own wedding ceremony. Her face tells a story of doubt, regret, and mounting panic that she can barely contain. This isn't the glowing bride-to-be that anyone expected to see, and it raises serious questions about whether this wedding will actually happen. The situation becomes even more intense when Nina Reeves is shown confronting an unseen person with a blunt ultimatum. They can leave right now. All evidence suggests that the person on the receiving end of Nina's sharp words is none other than Willow herself. Could this be the moment where Willow finally wakes up from whatever spell Drew has cast over her? For weeks, fans have been questioning Willow's judgment and wondering when she would recognize the massive red flags surrounding her relationship with Drew. Perhaps Nina's confrontation serves as the wake-up call Willow desperately needs to reconsider this disastrous union before it's too late. Later in the week, spoilers confirm that Willow makes a monumental decision that will impact everyone around her. The question on everyone's mind is whether she'll go through with the wedding or call it off at the last possible moment. Michael's tempting offer. While his ex-wife grapples with wedding day doubts, Michael Corinthos finds himself presented with an offer that could change everything. The nature of this tempting proposition remains shrouded in mystery, but knowing Michael's complicated history and his ongoing connections to both his family's business empire and his former marriage to Willow, this offer could relate to any number of explosive possibilities. Could someone be proposing a business deal that would shift the balance of power in Port Charles? Or perhaps this offer relates more directly to his personal life and his feelings about Willow's impending marriage to his former ally turned bitter enemy. Whatever this tempting offer entails, it's guaranteed to put Michael in a difficult position where he'll need to weigh his options carefully and consider the far-reaching consequences of his choice. Thanksgiving celebrations and Turkey Day drama. Due to preemptions, Port Charles residents are still celebrating Thanksgiving even though viewers at home have already finished their turkey and stuffing. This gives fans a chance to see how Harrison Chase and Brooklyn Quartermain's ambitious turkey preparation turns out. Knowing the Quartermain family's history with holiday chaos and culinary disasters, there's always potential for comedy mixed with heartfelt family moments. The Thanksgiving celebration provides a backdrop for several important character interactions and relationship developments that will resonate throughout the coming weeks. Brooklyn steps up to support Giovanni Joe Palmieri during a crucial moment, demonstrating the kind of loyalty and family connection that defines the Quartermain clan at their best. Following this show of support, Joe and Emma Scorpio Drake make their next strategic move in whatever plan they've been carefully orchestrating. The younger generation in Port Charles is proving they can be just as cunning and determined as their parents when the situation demands it. However, not everyone approves of their methods. Lulu Spencer, who has always been fiercely protective of the people she loves, finds herself in the uncomfortable position of delivering some much-needed tough love to someone close to her. Meanwhile, Laura Collins receives a delightful surprise that brings some much-needed joy to her complicated life as Port Charles mayor and matriarch of the Spencer family. The mystery of Professor Hank Dalton. While Thanksgiving festivities continue, Nathan West receives an urgent assignment that pulls him away from the celebration. He needs to track down Professor Henry Hank Dalton immediately. The urgency of this search suggests that Hank possesses crucial information or represents a significant threat that cannot wait. The stakes are clearly high, and Nathan's determination to locate the professor indicates that lives may hang in the balance, adding another layer of intrigue to this storyline. Spoilers reveal that Laura Collins will be haunted by Hank's death. This raises fascinating questions about the timeline and sequence of events. Does Nathan successfully locate Hank only to witness his demise? Or does the professor die before Nathan can reach him, leaving critical questions unanswered? Either way, Laura's emotional reaction suggests a deep connection or responsibility she feels regarding Hank's fate that will weigh heavily on her conscience. Sidwell's power play and Sonny's corner. The criminal underworld of Port Charles heats up considerably as Jen Sidwell begins throwing his considerable weight around and flexing his power over those he considers beneath him. This dangerous power play creates ripples of fear throughout the community, and many wonder who will become Sidwell's next target. The situation becomes even more concerning when we learn that Sonny Corinthos, the most powerful mob boss in Port Charles history, finds himself backed into a corner with limited options. For a man like Sonny, who has always maintained control through strength and strategic thinking, being forced into a defensive position represents a serious threat, not just to his business empire, but to everyone he loves. The timing of Sidwell's aggressive moves is particularly worrying given that Rocco Falconeri has just been released and returned home. Fans desperately hope that Sidwell's power games don't spell bad news for the young man who has already been through far too much. The thought of Rocco being caught in the crossfire between Sidwell and Sonny is almost too terrible to contemplate, but in the dangerous world these characters inhabit, innocent people often pay the highest price for other people's conflicts. Britt's breakdown and Jason's support. By the end of the week, viewers will witness a vulnerable side of Britt Westburn that we don't often see. The normally composed and confident doctor gets drunk and finds herself leaning on Jason Morgan for support during what is clearly a difficult time. This moment of weakness and connection between Britt and Jason opens up intriguing possibilities for their relationship going forward. Jason has always had a gift for providing quiet strength and non-judgmental support to the women in his life, and it appears that Britt desperately needs exactly that kind of steady presence. The circumstances that drive Britt to drink and seek comfort remain unclear, but whatever she's dealing with has shaken her to her core. Trina's shocking discovery. Trina Robinson stumbles upon something that leaves her absolutely stunned and questioning everything she thought she knew. The shocking nature of this discovery suggests it relates to someone very close to her, most likely involving her family circle. Could Trina have uncovered the truth about Portia Robinson's pregnancy? Or perhaps she's learned about Curtis Ashford's complicated lingering feelings for Jordan Ashford that threaten his current relationship? Whatever Trina discovers, it hits her hard enough that she needs to turn to Kai Taylor for emotional support and guidance. Kai has become an increasingly important presence in Trina's life, providing a listening ear and steady friendship during turbulent times. Portia's Thanksgiving shift and Curtis's announcement. Despite the holiday, Portia must work at the hospital on Thanksgiving, missing out on family celebrations. However, Isaiah Gannon makes a meaningful sacrifice that demonstrates the depth of his character and his feelings for those around him. Isaiah's selfless action might very well put Portia in position to witness Curtis's big announcement firsthand. Given the complicated romantic history between Curtis and Portia and the unresolved feelings Curtis harbors for Jordan, this announcement could devastate multiple people simultaneously. The convergence of these storylines during the Thanksgiving episode promises maximum emotional impact. Molly gets stung and Carly seeks redemption. Molly Lansing Davis experiences something that leaves her feeling hurt, betrayed, and emotionally wounded. The phrase "get stung" suggests that someone's words or actions have cut deeply, leaving Molly to process feelings of disappointment and pain. Given Molly's strong moral compass and her tendency to hold herself and others to high standards, this emotional injury could come from anyone in her orbit who has failed to live up to expectations or has revealed a betrayal of trust. Meanwhile, Carly Corinthos' attempts to make amends for past mistakes and repair damaged relationships. Carly's efforts at reconciliation suggest she recognizes that her actions have hurt someone she cares about, and she's ready to take responsibility and work toward forgiveness. Whether her attempts at making peace will be successful remains to be seen, but fans know that Carly's determination usually means she won't give up until she's achieved her goal. Next, we will learn about the issues surrounding Laura Collins' terrifying discovery and the dangerous web of deception that could destroy everything she's worked so hard to rebuild in Port Charles. The dramatic events that unfolded on that dark roadside have set in motion a chain reaction that threatens not only the mayor's political career, but potentially her freedom as well. Jason Morgan returns to handle Sonny's latest crisis. When Sonny Corinthos reached out with an urgent call for help, Jason Morgan didn't hesitate to drop everything and respond immediately. This wasn't just another routine favor between longtime friends and business associates. This situation carried far more weight and complexity than most of Sonny's previous predicaments. The arrival of Jason signaled that something truly serious had occurred, something that required the unique skill set and unwavering loyalty that only Jason could provide. His presence meant that whatever mess needed cleaning up was substantial enough to warrant bringing in the most trusted operative in Sonny's organization. The tension in the air was palpable as Jason assessed the gravity of what Sonny was asking him to do, knowing full well that this favor would tie him to yet another dangerous secret, the murder that changes everything. The death of Professor Henry Hank Dalton represents a turning point in Port Charles politics and criminal underworld dynamics. Unlike previous bodies that Sonny has had to make disappear over his decades in the mob business, this particular murder carries complications that extend far beyond the usual cover-up protocols. The victim wasn't some rival gangster or turncoat informant. He was an educated professional with connections throughout the legitimate community. Creating a believable narrative about his sudden disappearance won't be as straightforward as simply erasing evidence and silencing witnesses. The circumstances surrounding Dalton's death are convoluted and messy, involving multiple parties with conflicting interests and agendas that make controlling the narrative nearly impossible. Jen Sidwell's calculated move. The actual killer in this twisted scenario is Jen Sidwell, a ruthless strategist who orchestrated Dalton's murder with chilling precision. But Sidwell didn't just eliminate his target, he went several steps further by arranging for the professor's corpse to be discovered in the most politically damaging location imaginable. The decision to plant Dalton's body in Mayor Laura Collins' trunk was no accident or random choice. It was a calculated power play designed to compromise the mayor and give Sidwell leverage over one of Port Charles' most respected public figures. By implicating Laura in this death, even indirectly, Sidwell created a situation where she would be forced to either expose herself to criminal charges or become entangled with the very criminal elements she spent her career opposing. Laura's moment of panic. When Laura made that fateful call to Sonny Corinthos for assistance, she crossed a line that fundamentally altered her relationship with legality and justice. The mayor found herself in an impossible position, facing a choice between potentially being framed for murder or accepting help from the mob boss she's publicly condemned on numerous occasions. In that moment of sheer panic and desperation, Laura made a decision that felt like survival, but may ultimately prove to be her undoing. Sonny responded in the only way he knows how, by deploying his resources to make the problem disappear rather than working within the legal system. Now that the wheels have been set in motion and Jason has already disposed of evidence, there's no possibility of rewinding time and making different choices. Laura is trapped by her own decision to involve Sonny, and that choice will haunt her in the days and weeks ahead. Were there witnesses to Laura's discovery? Many observant fans have raised concerns about the lack of discretion surrounding Laura's roadside ordeal. The scene played out on a public road where any passing motorist or hiker could have witnessed the mayor opening her trunk to reveal a dead body. Several viewers have speculated that the seemingly vulnerable location wasn't an oversight, but rather an intentional element of Sidwell's larger scheme. The possibility that someone was watching from the shadows, perhaps concealed in the dense woods lining the roadside adds another layer of danger to Laura's predicament. If Sidwell arranged for surveillance of his planted evidence, then he likely has documentation of everything that transpired, including Laura's panicked reaction and her subsequent call to Sonny. Sidwell's strategic advantage. A man like Jen Sidwell doesn't leave his operations to chance or hope that events will unfold favorably without guidance. His reputation is built on thinking 3 moves ahead of his adversaries and ensuring that every action he takes serves multiple purposes simultaneously. Having arranged for Dalton's body to be discovered by Laura, it would be entirely consistent with Sidwell's modus operandi to also arrange for that discovery to be witnessed and documented. The value of photographic or video evidence showing the mayor finding a corpse in her vehicle, then having it removed by known mob enforcer Jason Morgan, would be immeasurable leverage. Such documentation could be used to blackmail Laura, force policy concessions, or simply destroy her credibility if she ever moved against Sidwell's interests. The strategic value is so obvious that it seems almost inconceivable that Sidwell wouldn't have arranged for surveillance of the entire incident. Possible hidden observers. Sidwell has several operatives at his disposal who could have easily tailed Laura and recorded the entire roadside incident. His associate Pascal has proven himself to be both resourceful and discreet in previous operations, making him an ideal candidate for surveillance work. Alternatively, Marco Rios, another member of Sidwell's organization, could have been positioned in the woods with a long-range camera, capturing every moment from Laura's initial discovery through Jason's arrival and removal of the evidence. Either of these men would have the training and equipment necessary to document the scene without being detected, providing Sidwell with the ammunition he needs to control Laura's actions going forward. The thought that such evidence might exist should terrify Laura, because it would essentially end any possibility of her successfully claiming ignorance or innocence. Nathan West's mysterious return. Ever since Nathan West made his shocking return to Port Charles after being presumed dead, fans have been intensely debating whether he's truly the same man who died or something far more sinister. The prevailing theory among many viewers is that this Nathan is either a brainwashed operative or perhaps even a sophisticated clone or mind-mapped recreation of the original detective. The evidence pointing toward Nathan being compromised continues to accumulate with each appearance he makes. His behavior, while superficially friendly and normal, contains subtle inconsistencies that suggest his memories and personality may have been artificially implanted or manipulated. Some particularly bold theories have suggested that General Hospital might be venturing into science fiction territory by introducing cloning technology, potentially explaining both Nathan's return and rumors about other deceased characters like Britt Westburn potentially reappearing. Nathan's convenient timing. When Nathan stopped to check on Laura during her roadside crisis, his timing seemed almost too perfect to be coincidental. He appeared cheerful, helpful, and genuinely concerned about the mayor's welfare, engaging in his typical friendly conversation while approaching her vehicle. Nathan came dangerously close to opening Laura's trunk himself, which would have exposed Dalton's body and forced an entirely different sequence of events. But was his sudden appearance and near discovery all part of an elaborate performance? The possibility exists that Nathan's roadside assistance was actually reconnaissance work designed to establish a record of official police presence at the scene. If Nathan is secretly working for Sidwell, whether willingly as a corrupt officer or unknowingly due to brainwashing, his interaction with Laura takes on a far more ominous meaning. Building evidence against the mayor. If Nathan is indeed compromised and reporting to Sidwell, then his encounter with Laura created exactly the kind of documented evidence that could destroy her. An official police report would show that a uniformed officer stopped to assist the mayor, found her in apparent distress by the roadside. Yet Laura declined police help and instead called upon known organized crime boss Sonny Corinthos. That pattern of behavior would be nearly impossible for Laura to explain in any way that doesn't make her look either corrupt or guilty. Nathan's testimony could corroborate that Laura was alone with her vehicle, had the opportunity to discover anything inside it, yet chose to handle the situation through criminal channels rather than proper legal procedures. This testimony, combined with any photographic evidence Sidwell might possess, would create an airtight case for Laura's involvement in a cover-up. Laura's impossible position. The mayor now faces choices that will determine whether she retains her office, her freedom, and her reputation. She fought hard to reclaim her position as Port Charles mayor, celebrating her electoral victory with genuine joy and relief at being given another chance to serve her community. That happiness lasted mere hours before her world collapsed around her. The discovery of Dalton's body and her subsequent decision to involve Sonny have placed her in a moral and legal quicksand where every movement threatens to drag her deeper into trouble. Laura must now figure out how to explain her whereabouts and actions during the critical time frame when Dalton was killed and his body discovered. The timeline alone creates problems, as she was verifiably alone, or at least appeared to be alone until well after the murder had already occurred. The temptation to confess. Preview footage reveals that Laura will be strongly tempted to come clean about at least some aspects of what happened that night. Her conscience and her lifelong commitment to honesty and transparency are warring against her survival instincts and political calculations. Laura has built her entire career on integrity, making the weight of this secret almost unbearable for her to carry. The moral burden of covering up a murder investigation, even though she didn't commit the crime herself, goes against everything Laura believes in and stands for as a public servant. She wants desperately to unburden herself, to tell the truth and face whatever consequences may come from her involvement. Sonny's warning. Sonny Corinthos, however, is adamant that Laura must remain silent and stick to the story they've agreed upon. His experience in managing criminal enterprises has taught him that partial confessions and selective honesty are often more dangerous than complete silence. Sonny warns Laura that any attempt to come clean about her knowledge of Dalton's death will inevitably implicate both of them, potentially destroying both her political career and exposing his organization to prosecution. He reminds her that she's already crossed the line by accepting his help in disposing of evidence, making her legally complicit in obstruction of justice regardless of her innocent intentions. Sonny's pragmatic view is that Laura must prioritize survival over moral purity, at least until they can determine the full extent of Sidwell's plan and whether any witnesses or evidence exist that could expose them. The alibi that could backfire. The cruel irony of Laura's situation is that if Sidwell did arrange for surveillance or if Nathan is indeed compromised and working against her, then any alibi Laura constructs will be immediately disprovable. If Nathan files an official report about encountering Laura on that roadside, it establishes her presence at the scene. If he testifies that he saw Jason arrive or noticed Jason driving Laura's vehicle away and returning it later, those observations would corroborate a timeline that places Laura squarely in the middle of a cover-up operation. Nathan's testimony could confirm that Laura's car was taken by Jason Morgan, that it was gone for a period consistent with evidence disposal, and that it returned with suspicious signs of having been thoroughly cleaned, particularly the trunk area where Dalton's body had been stored. The mayor's next decision will be absolutely critical in determining whether she survives this crisis or becomes its next victim. Can Laura maintain her composure and follow Sonny's instructions to stay silent, or will her moral convictions compel her to confess and accept the consequences? The answer to that question will shape not only her future, but potentially the entire power structure of Port Charles.